Hi, fellow paper crafters. Today I'm going to be sharing a technique I call gilded faux silk. For this technique, I'll be using some stamps, dye-based inks, tissue paper, versamark embossing powder, gel medium, and sponges. I've created a number of different projects for this technique with a range of fun results. I'll share some of these variations at the end of the video. The version I'm sharing today is a winter-themed card that uses a Stampin' Up! Stamp called Snowflake Sentiments and the coordinating thinlits. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp my images um, on a piece of tissue paper. And I'm going to distribute the images in evenly throughout in 3 different colors. And this is just regular old tissue paper. The images in the lightest color may or may not show up in the end, depending on how you proceed with your steps. In mine, it kind of pretty much disappeared. So now I'm coming in with the third image, which is a little tiny snowflake. It's actually a string of 3 snowflakes. So I'm just inking up the image on the end and stamping it here and abouts. And I have it on fast speed, and voila, I am actually done with that part. Cut out a little bit just to speed up the process. And now I'm coming in with that last one speckled image from the Touches of Texture stamp set. Next, I'm going to be using my golden soft gel medium, and I'm essentially using it as an adhesive and spreading it all over the surface of my piece of white cardstock. You can use other adhesives, of course, but I especially like using it as an adhesive here because it covers the whole surface really well and takes the folds of the tissue paper later on in the process. And it also tends to make the ink of the images sort of bleed and blend, which I think is a really cool look. So you can also use gel medium for other things. It can also be a sealant. You can mix it with acrylic paint or just droplets of reinkers. So it's really a lot of fun. I've dyed glimmer paper using it as well, and have a video on YouTube showing you how to do that. So lots and lots of fun. So here I'm just crumpling my tissue paper and then opening it back up. You can see I'm crunching it to try to make sure I get some nice folds in the tissue paper. And then I'm sort of gently flattening it out without smoothing it out completely. The more you flatten it out, the less folds and creases you're going to get. So I wanted to have it sort of mostly flat so I could still see those snowflakes. So now it's kind of wet, so I'm just kind of gently tapping down the tissue paper onto it so it's sealing all over at every corner and edge. One word of caution, the tissue paper is really pretty delicate at this stage, so just hold it as I am and gently tap it down with your fingers. So the gel medium will take about 30 minutes or so to dry, and you do want to make sure it's completely dry before you move on. What I'm doing next is I'm beveling the corners of the tissue paper by just snipping off those corners, and then I'll go ahead and put some adhesive on the back side and fold over the edges. You might also decide you want to just simply trim off the excess tissue paper instead of folding it over. I just like to fold it over so it's a really nice clean edge on all sides. So I think this piece is really quite beautiful just the way it is, but we're going to take the next step and do what I call the gilding portion. So I'm just very gently and lightly running my Versamark ink pad over the surface, and those folds are going to pick up a little bit of the Versamark, and then I like to really run the Versamark around the corners and the edges to sort of frame it. And then in this case, I'm going to be putting my piece into some silver embossing powder. I've done other versions of this where I've used gold, and it's also really beautiful, I think. So after I put the embossing powder on, I like to sort of adjust the look a little bit by rubbing some excess embossing powder off the surface, um, just to make sure enough of the images and colors in behind show well. So now I'm just heating my piece, and I just love the magic of heat embossing. So while this is on fast speed, just wanted to share the fun of watching all those folds turn silver. So I think you could actually stop right here and make a card of this uh, background piece very easily, but you can also sponge the way I am. So I'm coming in with some ink colors, and the first color I used was Island Indigo, and this next one I'm using is Night of Navy. And I spend a fair amount of time just kind of going in and adjusting the color, trying to get the right balance, at least as I see the balance. And you can see I'm just going to keep coming back in with each of the colors. The lightest color is Soft Sky. I don't use that quite as much because it just doesn't give you the contrast with the silver nearly as well. So for my final card, I cut out 3 snowflakes using the Swirly Snowflakes Framelits set. 2 of them are individual and small, and then the other one I actually cut from the strip of 3 snowflakes you see there on that die. Here are 2 versions of my final card, and as you can see, they each turn out a little bit different. So my original card for this was a fall theme card where I came up with the gilded faux silk technique. Here is the card, and it uses gold embossing powder instead of the silver. For this card, I stamped leaves using the Vintage Leaves stamp set, and then I sponged over that, and then I actually sprayed with some water to blend the colors more. This one uses the Lots of Lavender stamp set, which is a new celebration set, and also gold embossing powder. And on this final one, I actually didn't put versamark over the creases. I just did it on the edge and embossed with gold embossing powder there. I did add one step to this card, which was to cover the whole surface with another layer of the soft gel medium, and then I sprinkled a little bit of the gold glitter flakes that you see here. So I hope you've enjoyed the technique and this tutorial, and thanks so much for watching.